port so that we'll have the most competitive port in West Africa. And that was because volumes had grown so much that the old Tema port could no longer handle. The only efficient berth we had was the NPS berth. For those of you who remember, it could take only 2 ships. And so anytime I flew out of Accra, I saw a queue of ships waiting to enter Tema port. And so I called Gapoa director. I said, but why do you always have this queue of ships? He said, so we don't have the capacity to handle all of them. So some of them have to come and wait with cargo for about a week or more before they get the chance to come in. And that's when I challenged them to build us a new port, because Gapoa and NPS were partners already. So I said, government of Ghana doesn't have the money. You use your own balance sheet and look for the money and build us a port in which you are partners. Today, that port is operating. We have more capacity than it can even handle. And that is why we are sad that volumes are escaping. We must make sure that as much volume comes through that port as possible. Because even the phase 2, if they finish the phase 2, we can handle cargo for almost 5 countries in this sub-region, because we have the capacity to be able to do that. Today, that port is earning Gapoha a lot of money. Since that port was built, Gapoha's dividends has been more than $200 million from the new port. And yet people say, I sold the port. Meanwhile, now, the dividend Gapoha is making, of that almost $200 and something million Gapoha has taken, that is what you've taken $70 million out of to go and do Boankra port without a railway line. And the point is, if my container comes, why would I wait for you to pick my container on a truck and send it to Boankra? I'll come and clear, negotiate the charge with the articulator driver myself and take my thing. Boankra can only be viable if there's a railway line. And so we're building it just because we promised that we'll build it. But after you finish, how are you going to send the containers there? By road? It's the same way we do it already. So I'd rather clear my thing in Tema, put it on a truck, and then haul my cargo to Kumasi. So we need to make our port competitive. And all of us must work together to see how we can do it. One, clearance procedures must be made easier. And one of the promises I make you is that we're going to sit together with our trade ministry, and we're going to look at all the fees and charges at the port and rationalize them. Those that are not necessary illegal fees, we'll take them out so that we can make things easier. We're going to let the port work 24 hours. And it's part of the strategy for the 24-hour economy. There's no reason why we can't clear our things on Sunday. There's no reason why we can't clear our things on holidays. The port is an essential service. The way that the electricity company does not go on leave on Sundays and holidays is because it's an essential service. The port is also an essential service. And so the port must continue to work every day of the week, including holidays. And so we'll do that. So that people can clear their goods as quickly as possible. Aside from that, in order to make your lives easier, we're going to license some financial institutions. And so if your container is coming and you don't have the money to clear it immediately, you will go to the financial institution to be licensed to do that kind of business in the port. It will be a specialized financial service. So you take your customs document and then take it to the institution and say, look, my cargo is coming. These are the goods I have in it. This is the duty I'm supposed to pay. You sign an agreement with them, depending on how long you want. I want a month to be able to gather the money to clear, or 2 months, or 3 months. Yeah. Government will regulate the interest that they will charge you, so that it's not excessive. So as soon as your container is put down, they will pick up your container, they'll pay government's money to it, and they'll move your container to their warehouse, and your container will be there. And then you take your time, put your money together, you go and take your container, and you go away. And so that is one of the things that we're looking at, to license special financial institutions to do that specialized service, so that government will also get its money up front. There will be no problem with somebody's container staying in the port, the marriage, and all that kind of thing. Aside from that, we're going to look at the issue of shipping agents. It has come up not only in this discussion, but when we met the clearing and forwarding agents and all of them, everybody complained about the shipping agents, about the fees they are charging. A lot of those fees are not being charged in other ports or any other place. The same companies are operating in other ports. They are not charging those, so why are you charging them in Ghana? And so those are fees that we're going to take away so that it reduces the cost of doing business in our ports. A person imported a car, and I was just looking at the charges. This is it's a 2023 Lexus. These are the charges. 20%.
Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there. Osia dem yopo.
You are most welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for us. Hit the notification bell for more updates. Like and also share to other members to watch as well. You can also leave a comment after watching or send us your suggestion through our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. Honorable Murtala has also come out with some analysis saying the NPP is not concerned about solving the problem or the challenges of Ghanaians, but rather concerned with how to win the election, and also said there is no amount of Arabian perfume can clean Bawumia of his mess. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to what he said into detail. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for staying tuned to Pan-African Television. We are live from the Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television. Of course, you can watch us on television. We are also live on social media handles on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook, Pan-African Television, YouTube, Pan-African Television. You can watch us live. I am Sena Nombo, and I welcome you to today's edition of the mother of all talk shows, Alaji and Alaji. Alaji and Alaji is live on Radio Gold, the power station, 90.5 FM is the dial. I'll be telling you a number of affiliate stations we're also live on this morning. If you're listening to us on any of those, do share your comments with us, what you think about the discussions we're having this morning on the show. Of course, this morning we're discussing this poll by Global Info Analytics. In fact, this is what they say in the executive summary. A national opinion poll by Global Info Analytics for the 2024 presidential elections shows the ruling party's candidate, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, trailing the main opposition candidate, John Dramani Mahama, in the race to lead the country in 2024. The poll shows JDM leads with 54.3%, Dr. Bawumia 34.9%, Alan Kojo Tremanting 7.5%, Nana Kwame Bediako 2.3%, others 1%. That's the poll that they've presented. And of course, we'll be discussing that. It's our very first topic for discussion this morning. What will this actually mean to the next election, the 2024 election that's coming off in December? Will they stay this way? Will things change? What do the various parties need to do, and how would they use this particular research? We'll be talking about that in our very first topic for discussion this morning. And then, right in front of me, you can see there are many newspapers on my table. There are two publisher newspapers. The new publisher, Region or Religion, Bawumia Rani Mate Saga. The Ghanaian publisher, MMDC's exposed paid agenda against Toshi. Now, she is managed to put herself in the media, actively lobbying for it. You can see the stories every week. Yesterday, I was talking about one of the stories in the Chronicle newspaper. There are many newspapers that publish stories about her. She is bold enough to show her face as one of those interested in partnering Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia to lead the NPP into the 2024 elections. There are some names that have died down a bit. They were in the lead, but now you don't hear a lot about them. What choice will they make? What choice will Dr. Bawumia make? Because I think they promised that before the end of this month, they will name a running mate. Would they still be in the position to do that? We'll be talking about the Rani May saga of the New Patriotic Party once again on the mother of all talk shows, Alaji and Alaji. And the third issue we'll be discussing is that the EC has set April 30 to hold a by-election for a replacement for John Kuma, the late John Kuma. So they'll be holding a by-election in Ijisu to elect an MP. One of the names that have come up prominently is the person who says is the Cristiano Ronaldo that replaced the Messi in John Kuma. His name is none other but a person who will describe in the media when you're writing a story as the beleaguered Kwesi Nyantechi. Well, we'll talk about that, and that will conclude our discussion for today. Well, joining me in the studio this morning already, we have Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, who is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, joining us in studio. We also have the Member of Parliament for Pando, Honorable Delasoa, joining us. Lawyer Andrew Apia Dankwa, always a pleasure having him. He's a member of the Movement for Change, join us. And then our panel will be completed by none other, by Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, a veteran journalist himself, to complete our panel for today. Once again, you are an important part of the show. Do share your comments and thoughts with us. We'll start off the discussion and talk about the Global Info Analytics Poll survey that puts former President John Dramani Mahama family in the lead. And I'll start with Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. Comrade, good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
And Eid Mubarak to you.
Eid Mubarak. And good morning to my colleagues. And permit me to apologize. I have just a little cold.
Okay.
There could be some interruptions. Then also, let me say that I haven't been following that much. You know, I was away. And on the matter of the run midship of the NPP, but it is not something that is hidden for everybody. So I would first and foremost say Eid Mubarak to the entirety of the Muslim community in Ghana and across the continent of Africa. I know everywhere in Africa they have the opportunity to watch this program, and most importantly, the good people of Tamale Central. There is a football match we do every year, and I know that you will climax in it, and inshallah I shall be present at the climax of the football match. And of course, my colleague, honorable member, and my lawyer, who is from the Butterfly Fraternity. Senator, there is nothing wrong with any political party choosing a running mate or anything like that.
The Global Info
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I think that I'm sorry. And on the issue of whether the NDC wins the elections or not, I think it is very clear for everybody to see. When I hear our friends in NPP say they will break the A, my response is that break the economy first. It seems to me they are been fixated on the issue of winning an election rather than fixing the challenges that confront the people of this country. So if you listen to them, you have the mandate to govern. The people of this country gave you the mandate in the 2020 elections. And you have the mandate to govern. Your responsibility, as far as I'm concerned in a democracy, is to focus on delivering the mandate which you were given by the people of this country. Instead, they are so concerned about winning the next elections rather than fixing the challenges confronting us. It would have been justified if the concern was to win elections, if the NPP was just contesting for the elections. But you have been given the mandate for 8 years, whether through genuine and justifiable means or through a default. Whatever the case is, President Nana Addo was declared the winner of the elections. Now, President Nana Addo is not contesting, and I know that there have been several attempts by the NPP to insulate Dr. Bawumia from all the mess that we are facing today. I have said on several platforms, and I'll repeat it here, that no amount of perfume from Arabia, or if you like, oud perfumes, can be used to bath Dr. Bawumia of the mess that is created by this government. He is an integral part of this government. He was appointed by President Nana Addo in 2016. Even at a time when he was not an NPP member, says the then General Secretary, that he was not a card-bearing member of the party. And even if indeed he had taken his membership at the time, he was still not qualified because he needed not less than 5 years as an active member, a dues-paying member, to be able to qualify to be made the running mate. Yet, candidate Nanado at that time defied all the legal consequences and appointed him as the running mate. And the reason he gave, sometimes you listen to it, is funny. However, he was able to convince the National Executive Committee of the party and the leadership of the NPP to accept him. And the reason why he convinced them, he used Dr. Bawumia's economic prowess. If you listen to the then National Secretary, he told them that he needed someone who was a genius, if you like, as far as the economy of this country is concerned. And he was able to convince the NPP on the basis of Dr. Bawumia's capacity to turn around the economy of this country, and for which reason they agreed to allow him to be made the running mate against all legal positions of the party. And the fact that he wasn't a card-bearing member, he was not qualified to even hold any position, let alone a running mate of the party. Whatever the case is, he was allowed to be made the NPP candidate. I'm making all this analysis because whatever survey that is done, and if you read some of they use about 6,000 sampling size, and some of the questions, I must say that they naturally border on the performance of President Nana Addo Dr. Bawumia's administration. But if you are doing a survey between a ruling government and opposition, the questions naturally will border on the performance of the ruling government, and whether you think that they have performed well, and whether you think that if they haven't performed well, whether you think that the party in opposition will be able to perform well or do better as far as managing the economy of this country. So largely, the questions that were used were questions that bordered on the economy of this country and how the economy is managed. Of course, it will border on governance, because corruption, even though it is on governance, has everything to do with the management of the economy. So the verdict on which the survey was conducted anchored hugely on how this economy is performed. And Dr. Bawumia's appointment as the running mate for the NPP flag bearership in 2016 and subsequently 2020 was as a result of the capacity they considered he had, that is the economy. So if you want to assess the performance of the elections or the major political parties, you cannot run away from the economy. So there have been several attempts to insulate Dr. Bawumia from the economy. You remember when when he was elected as the flag bearer for the NPP, and he had his program at UPSA. Interestingly, I don't know why they have suddenly abandoned Central University, because that was where he had the opportunity to spew, out his garbage as economic reasons and policies that he intended to formulate to solve the problems of this country. They instead decided to go to UPSA because President Mahama has been using UPSA. There's a popular Dagbani proverb, no najinyo da halal bindi, she so nyeko nyampa, And so basically, they attempted to do that. I was curious when he said that he should not be blamed for the economic challenges and that he was just a driver mate. You know why? The first lady was seated there. President Nana Addo's wife was there. And then he made this statement, and the woman herself was applauding him. Clearly, it was something that they planned. Clearly, they had agreed that they have failed, and therefore, Dr. Bawumia should insulate himself from the mess. The fact that Dr. Bawumia said that we should not blame him for the economic challenges we are facing today because he was a driver mate, itself is an admission that the government in which he served as a vice president completely failed. After all, why would he be trying to extricate himself from the government? A government that he proudly, associated himself with, a government that he was proudly mentioned as the messiah of the economy. And in fact, the wife described him as economic whisket. I think that he has become economic poyoyo, because economic whisket would not manage the economy in the manner that it's been managed. So when the first lady was seated and was also applauding Dr. Bawumia, I knew ab initio this was something that they planned. And the fact that they planned that is an admission of failure. If you read the the survey done by Info Analytic, you have almost 20% gap that can never be reversed, and that has never been reversed in any survey. About almost 54% and about 30-something%, almost 20% gap. It has never happened anywhere. It takes a miracle to be able to reverse that gap. And considering the fact that things are even getting worse, things are not improving. They are getting absolutely worse. You have almost 9%, I guess so, or more than who have said, who previously voted for Nana Addo in the 2020 election, who said they are not going to vote for Nana Addo. Is it 9% or 19%? A huge percentage of people who voted for Nana Addo in the 2020 elections who says that they are no longer going to vote for Nana Addo. And you have about 60% saying they will vote for Bawumia. 60% of those who voted for President Nana Addo in the 2020 says they will vote for Bawumia. And about 19% who voted for Nana Addo says they won't vote for Bawumia. They will instead vote for JDM. So clearly, these are people who are either NPP members or people who may be tilted towards the right, or people who genuinely indeed think that the NPP will do better. Because we are not talking about 2016 elections, where people felt that we needed to change, and therefore they must vote for a different political party. This survey and the questions were based on the outcome of the 2020 elections. So that is after 2016. So if you have about 19% of those who voted for President Nana Addo in 2020, even though the economic mess started not just in 2021, it started before 2020 elections. Now, if you have about 19% of them saying that they will no longer vote for they will not vote for Bawumia, they would vote for JDM. They are not saying we won't vote for any political party or we won't vote for NPP again, but we are shifting our vote from the NPP to Nana Addo. I shudder to think that a huge percentage of the 19% should be members of the NPP. Because it is only members of NPP, after the mess we experienced before the 2020 elections, who would have gone ahead to vote for President Nana Addo in the 2020 elections. Those who were neutrals, who voted for the NPP in 2016, who felt that the economy was struggling, who indeed were gullible to the lies that were peddled by the MP. Mind you, they peddled a lot of lies about corruption, about economic despondency, and many other things. Majority of those people would have been people who neither belongs to the NDC nor the NPP, who would have been described as the neutrals. But those who voted for the NPP in 2020, regardless all the mess that we experienced between the 2017 to 2020, would have been NPP, majority of them would have been NPP members. So the 19% who voted for President Nana Addo in the 2020, who are now saying they will vote for JDM, I can bet my last penny, majority of them are NPP. Now, I also say this because you would find some of them also who will be voting for Mr. Alan Chirmantin, who naturally would have been either NPP members or people who have lost faith in these two political parties. There's also another thing that I think that, which is angering the people of this country the more. We have never had elections in this country, as far as I'm concerned. One, as a political science student, who probably would have gone through literature of our elections before the 1990s, because the 1992 elections I was upright and I knew I was heavily engaged in the body politic. But prior to the 1992 elections, all the elections we have had, the only knowledge I have about them is what I have read and the kinds of information I have gotten, about the outcomes of those elections and the reasons why political parties won and lost. But, so if I want to do this analysis based on what we're experiencing today, we have never had an elections in this country where religion, ethnicity, tribalism, indeed have taken a center stage than we are experiencing today. And that for me is extremely dangerous. And everything about these three dangerous reasons why our body politic, they have become a center stage, is occasioned by the conscious effort done by Dr. Bawumia and the NPP. Why? We have had presidents in this country who neither belongs, who are not Muslims or Christians. And I say Christians or Muslims who are not necessarily even practicing, Christians. If you check our elections from the 1960s up to date, they may be seen as Christians or Muslim, but you won't find them just like we use in the parlance, krefe, Muslims or Christians. Even if you come to the 1992 elections, it has never been a major factor or consideration, and we having presidents or not. 1992, we had elections between the two political parties. There wasn't any Muslim among them. 1996, between the two major political parties. It became an issue in 2000. And even when Alhaji Aliyu Mama was nominated as the running mate to President Kufuor, they didn't emphasize so much on the religious aspects of it. Of course, naturally, it would have been used, but it wasn't as glaring as it's being used today. Now, so it is becoming extremely dangerous. And again, you have had other instances where people think that, oh, the NPP, we had the former, majority leader who says that the NPP has been accused of being an Akan party, and therefore no Akan must lead the party. It must also be led by a Northerner. As if Northerners are just carriers of water and drawers of water and carriers of fuel. And to be very honest with you, I think that is extremely dangerous. And I expect people who believe in these religions to speak out. Because you see, religious and ethnic decisions and actions are so emotive. And I'm tempted to agree with Karl Marx when he said religion is the opium of the masses. When people are fed with these narratives, religion, ethnicity, tribalism, they begin not to think straight. And every thinking that anybody does is anchored on who that person is, either as a religious person or belonging to one ethnic group or the other. And it is very clear that the NPP is using it consciously, and that for me is extremely dangerous. Look, Sana, I'm a Muslim. Alhamdulillah, I'm a practicing Muslim. But I don't care who is elected the president of this country. What I do care about is the person see all of us as Ghanaians, and the policy interventions will not distinguish between who is a Muslim and who is a Christian. Poverty is no respecter of religion. Poverty is no respecter of ethnicity or tribe. Economic policies, when they are formulated properly, they help alleviate the suffering of everybody, regardless their ethnic or religious inclination. We have had a Zongo, a Nasara coordinator of the NPP, who publicly stated that they should vote for the NPP because Dr. Bawumia is a Muslim. One thing, the mistake they are making is that the Zongos and the Muslim community support for the NDC has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the fact that the NDC is the only political party within which they have equal space to operate. And that is the mistake they are making. It is a political party within which they have a space to operate. So they see it as their own. So the NPP, when they came with this Nasara club, it was consciously done at that time to see how they can bridge the gap between the NDC and the NPP as far as the Zongo and the Muslim communities, were concerned. But to stand publicly and make that statement, and not a single person condemned him except those of us who are in the NDC, for me, is just completely unacceptable. And you see, look, even in Islam, there is Surah Al-Imran. Allah says that I've created you nations and tribes just for identification, and that the best among you are the most pious. Even in the Quran, Allah says that he has created us nations and tribes. He didn't say for you to be Muslims and Christians, just for identification, and that the best among you is the most pious. So you can have a Muslim who is a leader, who is not pious, who cares less about how Muslims go through. Why? On the issue of LGBTQ, I have been calling and many people on Dr. Bawumia to take a position. He refused to do that until now. So it is very clear that the position he's taking now has nothing to do with a genuine position. It has to do with a political leverage. Look, I attended a program with him, a funeral in Tamale. And then they tried to play this religion thing. I said, every Muslim should be concerned about what is happening in Palestine. It is not a religious thing, but every Muslim, because they want to play that religious card. Because the Al-Aqsa is the third most important Islamic place in the world. Now, even those who are fighting against the injustices, the dehumanization, the human rights violation, the killing of Palestinians, 99% of them are not even Muslims. But they are human, and it has to do with humanity. What did Dr. Bawumia say about it? Even up till date, not a single statement. On LGBTQ, every religion, and I have said that there has never been a convergence of known world religion on a matter than our collective anti-position on the LGBTQ. Now, he refused to make a comment on it until now. So in one breath, they want to use the religion as a basis on which they should vote for NPP because of Dr. Bawumia. The religion itself tells you that don't vote, don't elect leaders who care less about everybody. They don't say who care less about Muslims. It says that vote leaders who think positive about everybody. Why is it that they are using this religion and the most deprived communities under this government is the Zongo communities? How many promises didn't they make to the Zongo communities, to the Muslim communities in this country? Now check the NPP, whatever, is it development tracker? Do you know what they have mentioned?
Performance tracker.
Performance tracker. And the Zongo development, do you know what they have put there? Toilets. Go and check the performance tracker. Their achievement under the Zongo Development Ministry, toilets. Isn't this insulting? Isn't this insulting? So I'm saying that I am not surprised that you have this almost 20 percentage point gap on the survey that is done as to who would win the elections in 2020 because of some of the reasons I have enumerated. The focus on religion, the focus on ethnicity, rather than focusing on the economic challenges the people of this country are confronted with. If I wake up as a Muslim and I don't have a job, my brother and sister who is a Christian, who is a traditionalist, who is a Jew, who is a Buddhist, who is Hindu, wakes up without a job. When we are searching for job, the preoccupation has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the job that we want to do. We are looking for jobs. So the challenges confronting the people of this country is not strictly speaking religion. And for me, the fear about allowing this thing to continue without a proper condemnation of both Muslims and Christians, for me, is dangerous as far as our democracy is concerned. Because if you allow that, it becomes a norm that any election, people can use that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that those things do not play a role in politics. They do. But the inability to stem it, the inability to avoid it, and to make it a norm that it is acceptable to do religious politicking, it is acceptable to do ethnic politicking. Yet you have Mr. Alan Chilmantin, even though I condemn that statement he made that this country is a Christian country, this country is a secular country, and I condemn the statement he made that they must vote a Christian. I think that it was just reckless, but granted that that statement could even be accepted. They have seen problems with that because he made it publicly. Yet they have people who are going around the Zongos and in the Muslim communities, bases where youth are seated, NPP people, telling them to vote for NPP because Dr. Bawumia is a Muslim. They can't deny this. They do that, and they do it intelligently. They identify youth groups. I have had people who told me, even in Mecca when met, oh, you need to support NPP because Dr. Bawumia is a Muslim. Alan Chilmantin's crime was that he made that statement publicly. But they do that in the Zongos and in the Muslim communities. They go to youth bases, and in fact, in some local radio stations, I don't want to mention a name. There's a place I found. Local radio stations, they say it's a crime if you do not vote for Dr. Bawumia. Some will even tell you that vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Northerner. And I'm wondering whether President Mahama isn't a Northerner. I'm wondering. Because in one breath, you are now telling us that we should vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Muslim. The very people who are saying we should vote for NPP because Dr. Bawumia is a Muslim, they were those who supported other candidates against Ali Mama when he wanted to, of blessed memory, when he wanted to become the flag bearer of the NPP. At that time, religion was not a consideration. The campaign, tell me, Ali Mama, as far as I'm concerned, was the only Muslim who contested to be elected as NPP flag bearer in the 2008 elections. You have the same people who are now going around the Zongos and telling people to vote for Dr. Bawumia because he's a Muslim. They were against Ali Mama. As far as I'm concerned, Ali Mama was genuinely a practicing Muslim. I knew him too well. But they campaigned against him. Religion was not a factor of consideration. Today, religion has become a factor. It is dangerous to use religion. It is dangerous to use ethnicity. It is dangerous to use tribe as a basis on which people should be elected as flag bearers of this country. So I am not surprised. But my last comment, Senna, the NDC should not be complacent. There's a saying in the Gbani that if the blind man says he's going to throw a stone at you, he's not just looking at, fencing the stone. He's either stepping on the stone or he's holding the stone. We should never be complacent, because I've seen something that is creeping within the NDC. The presumption is that as if we have won the elections. And that is why you find people, their fixation is about what position do I get. It is not about we winning elections, and particularly some of us. We need to be very careful. Win the elections first. And the elections we are going into has got nothing to do with who benefits and who. It has to do with salvaging this country, liberating the people of this country from this corruption, this outright thievery. And it is not surprising today. You find people who are struggling to survive, have survived, and when we get to that, who are now assuring Dr. Bawumia that if they make them running mates, they are fully prepared to contribute about $20 million. And you wonder where they are making those monies. So I am not surprised that you have this, and I can't imagine this almost 20 gap difference, lead changing, except something miraculous happened, because there isn't any light at any end of any tunnel, because it is very clear that the NPP is not even learning from their lessons. They are not thinking of how they can stem the tide, restructure the economy and change many things so that people will be able to say that, okay, Dr. Bawumia is different. What they are concerned about now is how they can win elections, and it is very clear. Jean Mensa, the NPP, they are in connivance. We need to let them understand that it is not only one woman who gives birth to a troublesome child. Many women can give birth to troublesome children. Let us let them understand that. If we don't let them understand that it is not only one woman who gives birth to a troublesome child, they would want to repeat what they did in 2020 elections.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade. Of course, the discussions around the executive summary captures it. Very first paragraph, a national opinion poll by Global Info Analysis for the 2024 presidential elections shows the ruling party's candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, trailing the main opposition candidate, John Dramani Mahama, in the race to lead the country in 2025. The poll shows JDM leads with 54.3%. Dr. Bawumia 34.9%, Alan Kojo Tremantin 7.5%, Nana Kwame Bediako 2.3%, others 1%. Now, before I come to you, lawyer, of course, you're talking about the voting intentions of those who voted for Nanado in the 2020 elections. It says the poll also shows that 60% of voters who voted for Nana Akufo-Addo in the 2020 elections intend to vote for Dr. Bawumia, while 19% intend to vote for JDM. 9% will vote for Alan Kojo Tremantin and 2% for Nana Kwame Bediako. 92% of JDM voters in the 2020 elections will intend to vote for him again. 3% will vote for Dr. Bawumia, 2% for Alan Kojo Tremantin, and 1% Nana Kwame Bediako. Lawyer.
Thank you for watching. PENDREAM TV really appreciate your time. Please, if today being the first time here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for us. Hit the notification bell, like, and also share to other members to watch as well. Thank you.
I'm not PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal le Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.